Hello, everyone, and we are back on the stream. We see that Sid Murali just found an awesome play of Fixatives through an F with a blank F2. So he is up 84 to 32. For now, we're just going to be using my Quackle scores for scoring. So again, if the players score something slightly differently, that won't appear here. But this is what we're using for now. I'm here with Matt Canick, expert player. Matt, how is it going?
Things are going well. I'm so impressed with that find by Sid. Thinking to look through an F with a blank that you make another F, knowing that word, that is deep, deep in the probability range. Really impressive stuff. Oh my goodness. Everybody is bringing their A plus game to board one against Will Anderson. You're starting to see a little bit of the frustration, I think, on his face as he leans down and looks at JPOOVW together. Wow.
We're also getting some high praise for Sid in the chat. 14 Domino said Sid is basically the future. He's basically a younger Gibson, top defensive player. Uh, yeah, I mean he is the closest I think we can say to the embodiment of Dave Gibson today, with just how defensive he plays, how much he constricts the board. It's really he's a stubborn player. I think is one way to put it, in the best of ways possible. He doesn't conform to your strategy and your board positioning. He will make his own board position.
It'll be very interesting too. A defensive player, the best thing you can do is take an early lead, and with that blank and that S, that's exactly what he was able to do. So we'll see if he's able to do what he wants to do with the board. Will obviously has to be aware of Sid's reputation as a player as well, and Sid's tendency to close the board. We'll see if Will chooses to capitalize on that, or if he has to try to play and keep things open. We don't even know that Will's going to be down that much yet. Yes, he's down 50, but it's his turn. Um, we'll see what he's able to do. But lots of Scrabble to be played yet.
Yeah, so it looks like he's set up two different things on his rack. Right now he has Jow set up. I'm guessing that goes beneath the B and the E in the Gulf, making VO and EW. The other thing he's also considered is Puja through the A in Fixatives, Pooja. And so uh, he's likely deciding between those two options. They both score in the mid 20s. He's down by 52, as Matt said. So, getting any dent you can, getting rid of some of the clunkier tiles, all good ideas here.
I'm maybe inclined to play Puja in this situation just because I think it's going to create some lines that might not go away for a while. But I think either play has a good amount of merit.
Yeah, so with seven, right, Sid played a bingo, so he has completely random tiles right now. Will might be setting up
Hmm.
his O to some extent here. Uh, Beneath Puja did have some scoring options, but yeah, I'd be curious
Yeah.
to hear his logic behind choosing Zhao over uh, Puja. But Sid right away plays the high scoring Cadiz.
50 points after a blank bingo. This is starting to get ugly pretty fast. We'll see if Sid's able to pull a good draw into that GRM leave. And Will's still kind of struggling with the same garbage he had last time, the V and the O, and now he's picked up a second W. He's not having the best time right now, but something like Vow is going to be able to set up his A. I think a play like Vow underneath Jow will drive Sid nuts too, because it does take that front A. And if Sid doesn't draw an A, but he did, it would have driven him nuts. I would love to make that play on Sid. Um,
Yeah, and one thing that does is Scrabblingo. If you hear us say fork the board, it basically means create two lanes that can't really both be blocked at the same time that easily. So vow underneath Jow, so it takes an A front hook. A vow is a word, and he's doing that right now. Good for Will. And bow takes an L, it takes an S, and you can't just make a word underneath vow because the V doesn't have any two-letter words associated with it. So Val forks the board because it creates two lanes, completely opposite quadrants of the board. Can't block both at once.
But Sid, because he did pick up an A, he has many options to make a vow. He can play Grand, he can play Hang. He's got a bunch of options, and
Yeah,
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't do anything except jump right on that spot right away.
yeah. Knowing Sid, I'm gonna guess he might go for the defensive ARGH as an option, just because I don't think that takes an S, and it doesn't create any letters. Right, so things like hang, the H will be sticking out, and you can make an EH word, an OH word, or an AH word going up. So we'll still keep a 7 letter lane, whereas ARGH wouldn't do that.
I expect to see Grand come down here anyway, but I'm not for sure. Will is going to end up having Rapidity or another similar bingo through that T.
Nice.
So Will's going to be bingoing unless Sid does something extremely bizarre here and chooses not to address the Val spot.
Yeah, and the chat points out that grandma with an H at the end is not a valid word, but maybe he's even considering grandma here through the A and fixatives, and that would block rapidity.
Wouldn't it be wild if he just plays? Well, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. But if Sid does actually block Rapidity, I'd be very surprised right now. This is going to be Grand and a Vow.
Yeah, I think that's right. It just happens to be the M's the next tile over.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
but
think
yeah, I guess
Imparity also plays through the T, but Will needs that line, I'm pretty sure, to be able to get anything out of this rack.
yeah, I think that is his one option right now.
Sid is aggravating over this. If I'm Sid, I really want to retain that H on my rack because of the S in fixatives. I want to be able to hold that H to make SH and make a word going down to score 30 points or so. Not the most fun spot to play because it sets you up for overlapping plays in the row to the right. But I'd rather hold that H on this board, just given what we're looking at so far. I think Grand is the right thing to do here. Oh my goodness, if he plays Grandma for some reason, oh my good, Will is going to be very upset because Will's going to see all of those letters. Will's going to see that Sid had Vow available and decided not to play it for some reason. Um, what?
Yeah.
Oh, Sid can also fish for begolfing, right? Like if he can hold the
Yeah.
NG together, that's really cool. He can play something like hard or something instead. Hold that
Yeah.
NG. He's just an I away. Wow, this is actually an interesting turn. Grand is going to get rid of that. Grandma is his best play, ironically, but is he seriously going to do this right now?
This would be like so disgusting and like
Yeah, can we verify the players aren't listening to us talk right now? Like, I'm just
his
kidding, of
grandma.
course, but
What Sid Murali? I mean, that is
oh my
it.
goodness.
But if you look, it does just dent so much of the board, and he has a lead. I mean, it's it really is incredible he makes this move, but man, it does just cut down the variance of the position so much. It yeah, you can't.
With the speed that Val came down, though, you have to assume Will was holding on to an A in many cases. Not always, absolutely. Val is a play you have to make even without it, but he didn't think very long. And I am shocked that Sid made that play. That is bizarre, but wow, it's going to work out for him well.
And I think he drew some bingos too, so he is cooking
Oh
with
my
fire.
goodness. And then Sid's going to draw just amazing stuff on top of that. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is not Will's tournament. Will's going to have to leave a vow open, I think, and then Sid's going to get to play like Slasher or something.
Yeah, yeah. So he could go there. He could also go beneath bow, either with bull or bows.
Yeah,
So
Lasher. Yeah. So Will forks the board. Sid doesn't block it. Will misses bingos in both of the lines, and then Sid draws bingos that play in both of the lines. Bizarre.
bizarre, but that's Sid for you. Like Sid is one of is he might be the most uh, adept player at understanding board positions. Uh, it's he's a really tough player in that way, and Will's running into that firsthand right now.
I would be livid right now if I were Will to see that A come down, to see my bingo blocked, to have no options, and to be sitting on this garbage. I would be livid. And that's, I think, the Sid Morale experience is he frustrates you with what he can do to the board and what he does to the board.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're Will here, what do you even do?
I have no idea. I would sit here and literally just fume for like 4 minutes and then dump something stupid somewhere.
Yeah, so the top Quackle suggestion is Airy and a vow, but it doesn't really accomplish a lot if you're down by 70 points. It scores 24, sure, but you're closing down your best bingo lane at that point. And against someone like Sid, who you've already seen is such a blocky player, you might want to keep that A open.
I Aries a play I think I might make against Sid anyway, just because I know I'm going to be able to make up some points as he squanders points to block the
Yeah.
board, as we saw him do with Grandma. He definitely passed up significantly higher scoring options. So Will's going to be able to do that, but unfortunately, it's just not going to work out for him because Lashers is going to come down for a gazillion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's not Will's turn, right? As Matt said before, but he does have his blank. We'll see what he draws with it. Oh wow, he drew some hefty tiles. So Sid plays slasher almost instantly, and will be
This
down by over 100, but definitely has some
this
scoring potential.
Slasher, you might think, hey, I don't want to make that play because it takes the back S, but already Sid has drawn and played all four of the S's in this game.
Disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So yeah, Will might just drop the Z here off of the A and Cotties for 31 because EHIPP blank does have some synergy.
I wonder if there's any word Will can fish for above Cotties with the Z through that F that'll score like 100, but I don't think there's one there. There's like
Well,
Zaftig and stuff, but that doesn't work.
Hafiz would be his one option if he uh, so he could play that now with a burning a blank, but if he wanted to play Pep somewhere, keeping HIZ and draw into an A, that could be his option.
I think the only way to justify fishing for a play there is if you're able to slot the Z on the blue square. That would be 100 plus, and I don't think there's a word in this lexicon that follows that pattern. Hafiz is maybe I don't think it scores quite enough to justify a fish or anything like that.
I think it would score 66.
Yeah, I just not enough to justify a fish. It'd have to be just an absolute like 100 point bomb.
Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah, I was wondering if there is a spot to play both P's for like 20 plus points. I think that right. So prep and slasher prep might be worth considering here. It's yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'd probably prefer Za, but prep isn't out of the question. I think.
I think if you're Will here, you've just got to really well, you have to make that philosophical decision once again of like it. Am I cutting spread? I'm dying right now, or am I still trying to win this game and playing very aggressively?
Yeah, and thanks to WTFJ00 for the pattern match. We actually can't put letters ahead of the Z here just because the Q doesn't take any front hooks for two-letter words. And he's playing Hep. Interesting. Uh, I forget. I don't think Hep takes. Oh no, Hep does
It
take an
does now
S.
take an
Yeah, yeah.
S. It also sets up Zip and Res for over 50 points, so that's a really solid play. And Hep, it does take the S, but there's only a blank unseen, and Will has it, so there's no way Sid can hit that spot back.
Yeah,
So cool
it's a good
play by
idea.
Will. Sets up Zip at least for 50, and if you happen to pull a bingo into this, man, you're bingoing for 110 next turn.
Yeah. So it's
Oh my
you
goodness,
gotta give yourself
I.
shots to win. Yeah, it's not fun for Will.
And yet that's not that because of that play. It's such a nice play. He can still play Zip. He'll hold IIR blank next turn, and he should be able to bingo after that. So he'll get 50. He'll get a bingo. He has a
Well,
shot,
don't
but the
speak
board
too
is.
soon. Sid looks like he might be playing EAU either above the RE or making REE and PA. Oh no, now he has bow, so maybe he's not going to play that. But I don't know. We'll see if Sid blocks again. That would be insane. But no, he's making a very nice play of Butte, a beautiful play, I should say, of Butte.
Yeah, that is a
Uh,
beaut.
yeah,
I think we'll see
and
Zip come down like instantly.
yep,
Nice setup, Will. Good job. Worst case scenario happened, and you're still netting, 50 something points. Like, good job. Nice play. Great job not just like instantly going on tilt as I would have already done. I think I'd be done with this game currently because I would have played the rest of it so fast. But good job not giving up, continuing to claw his way back, and we'll see if he's able to make opportunities happen after this.
yeah. I mean, the board really isn't conducive to bingos at this point. Is the one issue, as Sid games often are when he's leading. So, like, I don't see a single lane aside from the Y in Airy at this point. So if you can make an 8-letter word with a Y, then sure, you have bingos. And I guess if you can play an SP word, making heps, then that would be the one other bingo spot, but really hard to bingo on this board.
Somehow Will picks up CUG into IIR. I think there's some eights, but they're not going to fit on this board. I see like Oliguric and Cruising. But yeah, we're not the only line is a Y, and Sid is absolutely not the kind of player who would ever change that by opening this board up.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this will be interesting to see how Sid responds here. I mean, one thing is, once you have an already dead board, it's tough to make plays sometimes that make it even more dead and doesn't give your opponent more options. So, right, Pro here, for instance, gives the new bingo lane, but I think it's very reasonable from Sid's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna hit an 8 ending in an O, you're gonna hit an 8 ending in an O. Like sometimes stupid stuff happens, but that is less than a 1% chance. And if he really wants to, he can address the line that he just created later as well.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Zip in some ways is it actually doesn't telegraph the S anymore. When Sid sees the turn sequence of Hep then Zip, he then can conclude, okay, Will was just setting up a Z. He wasn't setting up the blank S there
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily.
I don't know that Sid can certainly telegraph anything after Hep. It also scored a lot in a board where you can't score anything. So I don't think Sid is sitting there thinking Will's definitely got a blank or anything like that. I think we're very far from that.
Yeah. So he could burn the blank with Begolfing at this point. I mean, there are also 5 ends out, so he might, if I wouldn't put it past Will to keep IG hoping for an N.
I think that's entirely appropriate to do. It's also going to open the board back up and float that G out there. So
And
yeah,
he plays
Will is
Icy
doing
on top of
exactly
that.
that. Yeah, he's doing exactly that. He's trying to get this board back a little bit open. Sid's not going to be able to do much about that opening because he has so many vowels. Icy does not have any front hooks.
Okay.
Um,
I
and
always forget if Dicey can be spelled like that, but
no,
good
it's
to
got to
know.
have the E. I've lost turns on that. So Sid's not going to be able to do much. Will now has like Oliguric through the eye or Oliguria as well if he wants to keep it more open. Sid's not going to be able to do much. So Will fought and fought and fought, and he's going to crawl his way back into this game, and we'll actually see it be pretty close. Yeah, there's no reason to play Begolfing when you can play Oliguria instead, as long as it stays there.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what Sid does here. He has Ali set up. I'm not actually seeing where that would go. He could play Larry through the L in Slasher, Laree,
There's
which
no
scores
way
you.
Sid plays that.
Yeah, fair, fair. But
Ooh, a Jeep placard recommends re-avow, which I think is kind of cool. It blocks the I, but then it also floats an R and an E for will to bingo down 2. So it's interesting. I don't think we'll see it, but it is a thought. God, this is a weird turn.
reavow is actually a nice idea, though, in a lot of ways, because a play through the I will almost necessarily open up two triple word scores at once. So that will so if Will could do that, he would at least get one of the two triple word scores if Sid takes out one of them. Whereas if you play reavow and then Will bingos, there's only one triple word score open a lot of the time after Sid uses one of them the next turn. So Sid maybe could go that route, but no, he goes for Lee instead. Very natural play here, I think. Oh,
Oh,
he
he
takes.
pulls it back. Yeah, we'll see. Sid definitely with the tough turn here. I mean, the I would want to drop AL and LI on top of Icy in some cases, but that is so paranoid and so crazy that you just can't justify doing that. You need to score some more points here. The last thing you can do is score 5 or 6 every turn trying to play whack-a-mole with the remaining marginal lines.
Yeah, I think if I were to go that route, I'd prefer LAC, LI, and AR, LAC. Uh, it's a similar idea, just would score a few more.
Oh, Mitch Bear nicely points out that BOWS takes a back E as well. So
Nice.
that's a way for Sid to score some additional points out of this rack if he notices it and sees it.
Yeah, bows. What a good word. So he plays
Wow.
reavow.
Oh my God. Will, you can't give that tell. Sid is fishing for it. Will just got visibly distraught. And yeah, reavow's not going to give Will any bingos back if I'm looking correctly. So, oh my God, Will, you have to stay calm. You have to stay calm. You can't telegraph you have an 8 through the I. He needs to play Lee here.
This would be disgusting.
If Sid does play reavow, Will's done. Will's gonna walk out of this playing room. Will's not that person. He's very level-headed and nice typically. But I'd be done.
Yeah, I mean, the one upside is that okay, so he plays Lee. I was going to say the one upside is he could still fish for the golfing, and that is a 45-point play, and with a blank too, you could still claw back, but he'll have the easier route of just getting his bingo down, keeping it within 10 points.
This does confirm that the players cannot hear what we're saying on the stream. Will, I wonder if he's going to designate this blank as an A or a C. That's actually interesting. Oh, it doesn't matter. The S's and blanks are gone. Nobody cares. The Z is gone too, so you're not even worried about ZA bombs. It truly doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
I
if you make
think
it a C, you have a higher chance of a challenge, but yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think from my brief look at the blank slip, it looked like an A was circled there.
Yeah,
So,
I see an A is circled.
so it's a game again. I mean, this is the opposite of last game from Will's perspective. Last game he was up by 90 plus points. This game, and then Bradley clawed back. This game, opposite story. He was down a bunch. Now he's clawed back, and Sid is now holding the rack with 5 vowels. Uh,
Sid needs to stay out of his own head to watch him set down reavow and pull it back up. Sid can't play that game of trying to figure out, well, what would he have had if I played it? Because that is the number one way to set yourself on tilt. So Sid has to just focus on what he has and trying to make the right play from there.
Yeah, I mean, this bag is kind of interesting too. I think only one T has been played at this point, if I'm looking correctly. Still a lot of ends out as we were talking about. So there are some low point letters available but there aren't that many bingo lanes, so it isn't that helpful.
Morris, are you able to copy and paste the unseen pool into our
Uh,
chat?
yeah, I can do that.
I think that would be interesting to see. The remaining hotspots, obviously, if you're able to overlap Oligiria on either side, hit that triple word, or try to bingo down, that'd be interesting. But I'm still interested in that blank F at the top right in fixatives. Is anybody going to be able to crush that spot?
Yeah, so he plays Urine, which looks really solid here. It does take a few front hooks, as the chat is pointing out, of M and P. Uh, so the M is left. There are no more P's left, as Will burned through two of those on two consecutive turns earlier in the game for that nice zip setup. Um, Will now has some hefty tiles, though, and it's this board is not really conducive to high scoring things these days. I guess knived is knived valid. I forget these things,
Should be.
or is it just knifed?
Oh, it's not good. Okay. Well,
Knived is invalid, but Will could try that though.
he could. I don't know that he needs to at this point. What does the unseen pool look like to Will? Because I think it's almost entirely 1 and 2 point tiles, and it might be a lot of vowels.
Yeah,
So Will
so
has to think about bingos and not scoring opportunities.
yeah, so I think there's an F, an M, and a C still out are the non. Oh, and a D. So C, D, F, M are the non one pointers. Five T's, four E's, four O's, three N's, three A's. So a lot of that kind of stuff from Will's perspective.
So a lot of sticks is what I like to call them. The 1 point tiles that don't do anything except make bingos.
Yeah. So and knived, as the chat points out, is a Colin. So I I think it could happen. Like knived takes out that bingo lane and scores a lot. And if he likes what's in the pool, it is pretty synergistic tiles, keeping a Y for a high scoring one. It's
How
not
many
unreasonable.
how many O's are unseen? Because he also has Kif on top of Cadiz for like
There
37.
there are four O's unseen.
That makes it really hard to make that play then, because the KA is going to get overlapped with the O. The S's are gone, but the O's are a major concern. If I'm Will, I want to hold on to several of my scoring tiles here because there's not too many left. I want to be able to score 30, 35 a turn and hope Sid pulls into a bunch of those O's and those vowels. I think I can catch this without a bingo, but I've got to hold some stuff that helps me score in the interim.
So the chat points out Linky as an option. I'm also wondering, what if he does Link off of
Oh
the
my
Ellen Slasher?
goodness. Oh
Link
my
off
goodness.
Link off of Slasher. There are no S's, no blanks. It would frustrate Sid to no end, being the defensive player he is. Now, that Linky itself scores 39, so that might just be worth it on its own. If
How
he's
how
feeling
could
really
Link
gutsy,
how could Linky get blocked with what's unseen?
Link. I mean, you could just play like AD and KA from Sid's
I
perspective,
suppose, yeah.
and right, YD is kind of an unnatural. Yes, there are some words that have YD consecutively, but it's not that common. Um, so yeah, Linky is NWL. We can confirm. Uh, so if he plays that, that would be insane.
Linky
uh,
holds Kef on the top too. Like that. This is what I was saying. Will's going to be able to score 35 to 45 a turn for at least 2 to 3 more turns.
yeah.
Sid isn't. Sid's with what's left in the bag from Will's perspectives. I think Sid is going to be very reliant on bingos to score, or he's just going to be playing like 5 and 6 letter words for 15 to 20 points for most of the rest of this game. So very curious to see how Will approaches this situation.
So he's also looking at lived or liven now, I think, which are good ideas too. I mean, Nikkei, I think he's realizing has a lot of scoring potential on this board. Uh, Now, the one thing about lived is it does create a few more 8 lanes, and the 7 with the 7 lane that is currently off of the NO from urine and oliguria, uh, with the pool with so many sticks, as Matt likes to say, it might just be introducing so many more bingo potential lines for Sid that Will might not want to do that. So we'll see. He's now considering Kiff, it looks like, though. So he's he's considering everything here.
Yeah, with 4 unseen O's and a bunch of other stuff, if you play Kiff and he does hit you back, well, you're probably going to get to play down from the L next turn and Slasher and do what you want. This is a really tough turn. These are the turns that make or break Grandmasters and separate Masters from Grandmasters. And you can see Will's really cranking just every gear in his head, trying to figure out what optimizes his chances of winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, he has 6 minutes 54 seconds ish now. I would expect him to use probably at least a minute more cycling through all these plays. It's a pivotal turn.
Absolutely.
It's a very pivotal turn.
Absolutely. I like the play of Lived here quite a bit, getting to hold that stuff that's going to score a lot of points. I like holding the K because of that big blue square in the top. I could see the rationale for Linky. I think that's probably the equity play. And VED with a bunch of vowels in the pool can still pull some bingos down in that third row from the left. But man, this is tough.
Yeah, does that give him back any bingos if he does play, or does that give Sid back any bingos if he plays Lived?
I don't think so. Detained. I don't think Detained has an anagram, so I think he'll be okay. Are there any R's unseen? Because fishing for Kefir is super interesting too. Not fishing,
I don't
but
think there are. Yeah, I don't
okay.
think there are any R's left. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea, though. Yeah, he has Linky set up, and he's gonna flop that down. So I think you can't argue with taking 39 points.
No, I
It's
think
a lot
that's
of points.
I think that's a very reasonable play here. And Will's next draw, plus watching Sid not pull a bingo here, is going to be interesting. Shout out to Ori Swift in the background, trying to watch what's going on in this game. Hi, Ori. I like your green Crocs. Ori's my boy.
Yeah, and so Sid now does have a few plays through that blank F and fixative, like defeat. Is a 32-point play. Define also, but that's a bit less defensive. He might go for that, although he could go for setting up a bingo lane. He definitely has options here.
Yeah, Sid has to decide now. There's one bingo line left, and if he makes a fishy type play trying to keep a bingo, Will is going to knock that line out 10 times out of 10. So I don't think Sid can afford to fish here. I think playing something like DFAT, scoring a lot right now, is the right thing to do. I just wonder what the vowel consonant ratio is unseen, whether that needs to be defeat instead of defat or something similar to that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll load up the tile pool from Will's perspective now in the chat. I'll try to keep it updated fairly regularly. So there are 9 tiles in the bag. So it's getting close to that pre-Endgame state that we saw. Last game went in Bradley's favor, but it could go in Will's favor this game.
You'll see from Sid's rack, this is precisely what I was talking about, though. If you're Will, you want to be able to score now, next turn, and the turn after, because eventually this was going to happen. Looking at the pool, looking at the sheer number of sticks left, somebody was going to pull him. And Will was working from a place of advantage, having the K, the Y, the V all at the same time. He's got stuff that scores, and Sid's going to have just an ugly turn next turn.
Yeah, he did draw some of those O's for that O lane of Oda he created, but doesn't look like it will help him much this coming turn. You could play Ono or New, but that's not scoring a lot there. But meanwhile, it's Will's turn, so he could do something like Voted. That does score 28 and making Nod off of the NO and Urine and Oliguria. And it does take out the most prominent bingo spots also. So it definitely could be in the cards there. But he
He's going to
opts
go with
for.
Avo
He's
opening.
going for bingos. He's going for bingos.
Interesting. Yeah, he must like what he sees unseen. He must like his chances, or maybe he hates his chances and he says, you know what, I don't think I'm going to outrun this anymore. I think I need the bingo to win now. Give us a
So
look at the unseen pool for Sid when you get a shot, Morris.
yeah, so there are 6 in the bag. So Sid cannot exchange also. That was a key aspect of playing 3 tiles instead of 2 tiles last turn. So that's the unseen pool from Sid's perspective. A C D E E F M N O T T T T. So it's I guess the M is probably the best scoring tile for the Murine hook. I guess the F you have above the AS and Defat. But yeah,
There,
Sid doesn't
there are
have a lot
only
of options here.
4 unseen vowels for Sid in that
I
entire
might do
pool.
oniony here.
Oh man, I don't know. Sid is gonna absolutely try to knock out as many of those lines as he can. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, fair. Uh,
Noogie, is Noogie good as a 6 Noogie?
yeah,
That
Noogie is
blocks
good as 6.
Mirroring. That blocks the new hook with Avo. And hey, if Will's able to have like an ED word or an ET word or something, maybe Noogie's the move.
Yeah,
I don't
Noogie
know.
might be
Does Noogie
better.
score enough?
Sid
So
is doing something interesting though. He's slow playing it, which he must like the pool also. I guess with to be fair, there are so many T's out. A T with the letters he's keeping isn't a terrible lead.
not really.
Uh,
EEINOT. I can't think of almost any 7s, and 8s are not going to play on this pool. I don't agree. I think what Sid wanted to do, though, is leave 4 in the bag. Leaving
yeah,
3 or 4 in the bag basically sets the tempo in Sid's favor.
yeah. So it's scored a fair amount too. That was probably the highest scoring spot on the board for just playing off 2 tiles. If you do want to keep 4 in the bag.
Yeah, I think it's impossible to block every line. You can try to do something like that with Noogie, but you're probably going to get outrun in the end game, even if Will doesn't have the bingo. So maybe this is the right thing to do. I think I like this play. But yeah, Sid, like I was saying, Sid is in so much trouble. He can't score points, and Will just needs to continue chugging and scoring 20 to 30. Should be his game.
Yeah, I mean it's a 19-point lead Sid has right now. So if your will, there are 4 in the bag. From his perspective, I'll type the unseen pool into chat. And I'm trying to see what threats he could see from that Sid could have. Aconite, I guess, is available in the pool off of
Action.
the. Yeah, so Aconite would play to the A in Avo, that the lane that Will just created. So he might try to finally play a nod word here. But it looks like he's opting for playing 3 tiles off instead right now with topped. This will be an interesting one. Yeah, Totem and Nom is a really nice idea that was spotted by chat. I like
That you're gonna have 6 tiles on your rack. And
Whoa, Will!
whoa, Will has decided I'm going to bingo or I'm going to lose, and that is very interesting to me. He has to be looking at the number of vowels in the pool, and he has to think maybe Pion didn't hold just a ton of vowels, so he thinks he's going to get to draw some. Very interesting. Leave 1 in the bag. Gives him 2 shots to fish for a bingo to win the game with several lines available.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
No,
That
no.
one seems. It feels maybe a tilt kind of play, to be honest.
I think you had many other ways to try to win this game without fishing for the bingo. Now, I'm not going to question what Will Anderson does. I'm certain he has a very solid rationale for making that play, but I don't think we had reached that level of desperation at this point in the game. I wonder if that does partially have to do with the fact that he's had 2 just downright brutal games. First, getting killed by the triple after he played Anti-Riot, and then, clutching a defeat from the jaws of victory last round against Bradley Whitmarsh. But I found that play very curious. And he's going to have now Really, I don't know what's going to happen. I think he's just going to lose at this point. But
I don't know. I mean, Sid. The lucky thing for him is Sid. Maybe his logic was that if Sid has the high point tiles, I'm gonna bingo on the other side of the board, and Sid can take that spot. If Sid has the low point tiles, he can't score there, and I can score there. So like cement he has now there for a ton of points, or he has cement on the other side of the board. He will be able to go out in two. Sid is going to empty the bag here. There's only one in the bag. So he might still be able to eke out a win. I guess he didn't have a lot of time, but that's the kind of play if I were to make it, I need to be really confident in the two scenarios of if Sid has all the low point tiles, do I win? If Sid has all the high point tiles, do I win?
I don't know. I think there was probably a way to play 2 tiles, leave 2 in the bag, score decently well, and not become so reliant on hitting a bingo right now. I mean, Will is going to have some options. He has cement. He's going to go out in 2, but Sid should be able to figure out. There's one in the bag, correct? Sid should be able to
There's
figure out
one in
ways
the
to win
bag.
this game. Sid should be able to go out in 2 with letters that flexible.
Yeah, and the F is the tile in the bag, by the way, for those wondering. So, uh, if you're Sid here, yeah, I think Odin, the play he has set up, is a good idea. He's probably playing off 4 tiles seems strong here to that triple. In general, I'm trying to see what other options he has there, and if more tiles. So ITE that would work with a lot of the tiles. It works with the C, D, N, and N on Will's rack, for instance, to go out the next turn from Sid's perspective, but it wouldn't work with any of the E's or the F or the T. So he might be looking for other options where if he keeps 3 tiles, whatever the new tile is he draws, how often will that allow him to finish the game in his next turn?
Right. If you're Sid, though, you have to take a lot of solace. The unseen pool now is C, D, E, E, F, M, N, T. There are no possible bingos for Will. And of course, Sid's going to take a second, double check his tracking, and really, really confirm, like, hey, there's nothing, right? There are no possible bingos that Will can have. But I think he's going to draw that conclusion. He's solid enough to know, definitely, there's nothing there. And all he has to do is score a bunch, make sure Will doesn't get cement down, and it should be pretty easy. A play like Tainite, I think, is exactly right. Just play as many tiles as you can. You'll draw 1 out of the bag, and holding an O, whatever that tile is, you should be able to go out. The one thing you want to watch out for is maybe a C, but with an
C
O
will
on
be
your
fine.
rack, yeah, the C would be fine if you hold an O or a vowel to go with it. Just need to make sure you do that.
Yep. And but if he only plays Odin, Will could maybe still win this actually.
Yeah,
I need to do out the math, but because drawing an F wouldn't allow Sid to go out the next turn. If he plays Tainite, like Matt said, that would guarantee him an out with I think any letter in the pool. Just because just keeping an O, even the C and O don't make any 2 letter words. But Koi off of the Y in Linky and Cog off of the G in Grandma both are words. So he will be able to end the game 1 turn later.
yeah, I
But
really like this play of Tainite. Shout out to One Wonderful Fish in the chat for the suggestion. But yeah, Sid can draw anything into that O and be able to guarantee he's going to go out next turn. Even if he picks up an E, OE is a word, that gives him some flexibility. And any consonant should be able to go out as well. So Sid, again, he's going to double check his tracking. You can't be so paranoid in Scrabble. You have to have confidence as a grandmaster, like both of these guys are. Um, to know, yes, hey, I'm not getting bingoed on here. Sid's going to go something
wow,
similar. He's going to play notate, and I
that
presume,
will win.
yeah,
That
I
should win
presume
because
he's
he
gone
has
through the available tiles he can pull and make sure he has 2 outs, so he can't be blocked. Fine, Keef, Phi,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, he's got Phi on the top. He's got Keef and Fine on the bottom. He's going to win this game. I am very, very confused about Stott for 5.
Yeah.
I
Although it
thought
does
Will.
give Dematon. Notate gives Dematon as parallel.
Oh my goodness,
Deneton.
Deneton. How much is that going to score? It's not going to be
It,
quite enough.
I don't think it will be enough. It's 38. But
It's a big old flex, though, if Will does drop that. All right, so it looks like we've watched Will Anderson drop 3 straight games in a tournament he was favored to win. Now, it is a long, long tournament. Many, many more things can happen. But really now, especially if you're Will and your goal is to win the national championship, you have to be first or second after 28 rounds to be there. And it is going to be tough to do that with an 0-3 start.
yeah, I mean, the lucky thing about this format for him is if someone does go on a tear and is like 22-6, then the race for second could be super competitive. So at this point, if you're Will, shooting for, I mean, you never want to shoot for second place. You always want to shoot for first place, but you can shoot for second place through the first 28 games.
Will is going to have. I don't remember if lunch is after 3 or 4 in this tournament. Morris, do you know?
It should be after 4, so we have one more game coming up here before
Okay.
lunch.
That would be a very long lunch break for Will if it was right now. Just a lot of time to think, hey, should I have played Stott? Hey, should I have played the flag? And again, I'm not saying either of those plays were wrong. I'm not good enough to make that judgment, but they were brain rackers that could have gone one way or the other. That is tough for Will. A really, really tough to a really big tournament. Wow.
Yeah. It's these tournaments happen to everyone, and we'll see shortly who's going to be playing. So will not be at board 1 anymore. The first 3 games were all preset for who was at board 1, but round 4 is going to be based on the standings. Since Will's lost a few games, he will not be in first place. So we're going to find out shortly who will be playing, but we're going to take a quick break in between.